Bombshell verdict, a teen accused of murdering Queensland mother Emma Lovell found not guilty.
A band of dangerous storms pummels the southeast.
A man shot in a terrifying Northside home invasion. His armed attackers tonight on the run.
1 year's rain in 8 hours. Catastrophic flash flooding in Spain leaves 95 dead and dozens more missing.
How to get your share of millions in unclaimed Medicare benefits.
Plus the hidden risks in adjusting insurance policies to lower your bills.
This is 9 News Queensland with Andrew Lofthouse and Melissa Downs.
Good evening. The family of slain North Lakes mother Emma Lovell has been left heartbroken tonight after a young teen was acquitted of her murder.
A judge making the shock ruling just hours ago, with Emma's husband Lee now calling for an overhaul of our justice system.
Overwhelmed by emotion.
I'm not feeling too great at the moment, to be honest. I think the verdict was a bit of a joke.
Lee Lovell covered his face inside court as a teenager charged over his wife Emma's death was found not guilty of her murder or manslaughter.
I just don't feel justified for Emma one bit. You just try to do the best you can for her, and I just don't feel I've been able to do that.
The teen faced trial on the allegation that he had seen a knife in his co-offender's hand and knew he was armed when the pair broke into the Lovell family home on Boxing Day 2022. The main offender fatally stabbing Emma and hurting Lee in the struggle that followed. This case hinged on a crucial split second caught on CCTV.
It's just coming down to whether the judge thought, like, the guy turned his head and his eyes happened to see the knife at the time.
Justice Michael Copley ultimately ruling he could not be satisfied beyond reasonable doubt that the accused knew the other teen was in possession of the knife. The now 18-year-old was also acquitted of unlawful wounding. He was found guilty of burglary and assault in company.
You're part of killing someone and you get offered a burglary charge, so what does that say for anyone else going forward? I feel like I'm slightly wasting my time coming along for a burglary charge because he'll probably walk out the door before I will, to be honest. They just need to change legislation.
The teenager will remain behind bars until at least December 4, when he's sentenced for the burglary and assault charges. The court also heard he's facing other charges in children's court that he'll be sentenced for on the same day. Lee Lovell has little hope for what he says is a just outcome.
We're the ones who are left with a life sentence now.
Anna Rawlings, 9 News.
To breaking news now, and the Weather Bureau has issued a string of severe storm warnings this evening.
Let's bring in weather expert Garry Youngberry now. Gaz, where are they at the moment?
Oh, Melissa, there are multiple thunderstorms and warnings as well. They are for giant hailstones, destructive winds and very heavy rainfall. The Gold Coast and Sunshine Coast particularly. It's all north and south of Brisbane. If we look north of Brisbane, you can see how dark it is and a little bit of lightning activity in the background. And that's where they started just after 4 o'clock this afternoon. Have a look at these pictures of a hailstorm that moved through the Sunshine Coast hinterland. You should be looking at the town of Mullaney, where hail was recorded from a very destructive storm cell that brought some very heavy rain. Also, hail reported from that same storm cell around Nambour. It is travelling in a northeasterly direction, and that storm is heading up towards Noosa. On the south side, it was the Gold Coast in the firing line, with the storms firing up just south of the border. Reports of hailstones around Terranora, and it wasn't the only region. Also, hail has hit Benora Point. So, 2 very destructive storm cells. There will be more to come. Let's have a look at the radar, and you will see as the afternoon progressed, it was initially the Sunshine Coast with that severe thunderstorm warning, then late for the Gold Coast, but there are multiple storm cells forming to the west, and we will see more storms through this evening across southeast Queensland. At the moment, though, we are storm-free in Brisbane. We'll keep you updated. Your full forecast not far away, guys.
Thanks, Garry. A man's recovering after a terrifying home invasion where he was forced to defend himself with a samurai sword. Police are right now hunting the man responsible, who they believe may still be armed and dangerous.
Just after midnight, a quiet Nunda street erupts into chaos.
I heard a gunshot, and so I thought I was dreaming.
Armed offenders storming this apartment, smashing through the front door. The group, wielding a shotgun, confronted by a resident inside.
The 26-year-old man grabbed a samurai sword to try and defend himself. It scared most of the intruders out of their home, but police believe that may have been the moment one of the offenders opened fire.
The shotgun blast woke me up and I went, well, that's a gunshot. Ran to the window and I heard a guy screaming.
I heard the guy scream, I've been shot, I've been shot.
The group also firing a shot through the back wall as neighbours rushed to the man's aid.
There was a couple of people came and put rags on the guy's leg to staunch the blood.
The intruders fleeing in a white car.
It was just taken off like a bat out of hell.
The injured man rushed to hospital with a leg wound, along with a woman in the house who suffered minor injuries. 2 children inside were left unharmed. Police are now searching for a motive for this invasion.
It doesn't appear to be a random attack. It appears that by the actions that the group were going there for a reason.
Tonight, those offenders remain on the run.
Since we believe there was possibly a group of up to 3 to 5 persons of male description, adult, and of African possible heritage.
Police warning they could be armed and dangerous.
Contact police, do not approach these persons.
Pat Heaney, 9 News.
New Premier David Crisafulli is about to unveil his new cabinet tomorrow morning. State political editor Tim Avia joins us now, and we are expecting some changes.
We are, Melissa, although David Crisafulli is keeping his cards close to his chest, and multiple sources say he isn't phoning ministers to tell them they're in the cabinet until after our news has gone to air because he's worried about leaks. But I'm told most of the key portfolios, such as Treasurer and Health Minister, are not expected to change, but we could see a mix-up and changing of some of the other portfolios and their descriptions. David Crisafulli made this promise last week that his cabinet would remain the same, although he wasn't repeating it today.
The shadow cabinet I'm taking to the election will be the cabinet after the election if we're elected to government.
If there are changes, is that a broken promise?
You'll know in 24 hours' time.
If it's a broken promise or if there's going to be changes?
You'll know about both, I guess.
Meanwhile, Stephen Miles has directed Labor MP Jimmy Sullivan to take leave until his legal and medical matters have been resolved. The member for Stafford attended court today after 9 News revealed police are investigating him over an alleged domestic incident at his house on Sunday night. And while they are still allegations, Andrew, Melissa, Labor MPs I've spoken to tell me they want him suspended from the Labor caucus until these legal matters are finalised.
Great, thanks, Tim. Well, Spain has seen its worst natural disaster in decades. Flash flooding killing almost 100 people and causing bridges and buildings to crumble. Towns in the country's southeast have recorded more than a year's worth of rain in just 8 hours.
A flash flooding disaster. Powerful torrents flushing cars away like children's toys. Emergency crews on the ground and in the air struggling to keep up with calls for help. 1,000 soldiers have been deployed to assist with rescue efforts. Stranded in filthy water, a woman clutches her dog and a bag of belongings, the most important possessions she can hold, as a rescuer drops from a helicopter. A fight to keep heads above water as she's attached to a winch and hoisted to safety. She's one of the luckier ones. Dozens killed in what's been called Spain's worst natural disaster in decades. And many are still missing. Our country has been hit by the worst storm so far this century, Spain's Prime Minister says, as he pledged support for victims. Ground zero is Valencia and the surrounding area in the country's southeast. Nearby town Shiva recording 491 millimetres of rain, a year's worth in just 8 hours. The torrential downpour eventually easing, receding waters slowly revealing the destruction. Roads crumbled away, cars strewn, homes ruined. Messages of condolences from Spain's King Philippe and the President of the European Union. Portugal, Italy and Germany among nations offering support. A red weather alert remains in place for areas as far north as Barcelona. The number of dead still rising, an unimaginable clean-up beginning, and a warning the threat isn't over yet. In London, Edward Godfrey, 9 News.
An entire community on the far north tablelands remains on high alert tonight after the outbreak of multiple fires southwest of Cairns. SES crews helped battle the blazes in Mount Garnet. An emergency warning was issued to evacuate half of the town just before 4 o'clock. That has since been downgraded, but half of the community has been warned it is still unsafe to return to their homes.
An Australian Navy ship has come to the rescue of a 57-year-old woman after she was attacked by a shark in North Queensland. She'd been snorkelling on a reef 200 kilometres off the coast of Mackay when she was bitten on the calf. HMAS Warramunga reached her first and provided first aid before transporting her to the mainland.
She was quite alert, obviously in quite a bit of pain and obviously probably quite shocked.
The woman remains in the Mackay hospital in a stable condition.
Donald Trump behind the wheel of a rubbish truck, Joe Biden defending his garbage gaffe, and Kamala Harris just trying to distance herself from the trash talk. Less than a week out, the race to the White House is as wild as ever, the margin between candidates remaining razor thin.
Donald Trump wants to be on the road to victory with an unusual theme of the final week of the presidential race.
How do you like my garbage truck? This truck is in honour of Kamala and Joe Biden.
Spooky season at the White House. Joe Biden had shudders ripping through the Harris campaign.
The only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters.
The president insists he was only talking about one Trump supporter, this comedian who spoke at the Republican candidate's Madison Square Garden rally.
There's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah, I think it's called Puerto Rico.
But at first chance, the vice president distanced herself from the man who handed her the baton.
I strongly disagree with any criticism of people based on who they vote for.
Joe Biden's blunder drawing comparisons with this from 2016.
You could put half of Trump's supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables.
For Donald Trump, it was a gift.
Crooked Joe Biden finally said what he and Kamala really think of our supporters. He called them garbage.
But Kamala's Latino supporters are backing her in.
Kamala wants to unite us. We're not trash. I want to say we're not trash. We're good people.
Trash talking of a different kind from Arnold Schwarzenegger, the former Republican governor endorsing Kamala Harris. Turn the page and put this junk behind us, as she tried to clean up her campaign.
Pennsylvania remains the largest prize among the battleground states, and today Donald Trump has claimed without evidence that there is widespread voter fraud here.
There is no voter fraud going on. In fact, the system is working as it should work. This is Donald Trump trying to line up his backup plan.
The former president is leaving conditions on accepting defeat.
Oh, if they find no evidence of cheating anywhere else.
But just whose White House bid will be binned remains unknown.
I hope you enjoyed this garbage truck. Thank you very much.
In Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Alison Petrowski, 9 News.
Nine's political editor Charles Croucher is in Washington, D.C.
Apart from a couple of pumpkins out the front, the White House has toned down Halloween decorations this year. The reality may be scary enough. A new round of opinion polls today pointing to an increasingly tight race. And while the early pre-poll numbers seem good for Donald Trump, they also lend to a long and slow count. As 2020 proved in this city that craves certainty, an unknown result leaves a void that can be filled with conspiracies, attacks and more pressure on a system already showing signs of strain. This time next week we should know a result, but that is by no means a certainty.
Police have arrested and charged a 33-year-old woman over a traffic crash that saw a B-double truck explode on the Logan motorway at Logan Lee. Chaos erupted last week when a stolen car ploughed into the back of a truck carrying lithium batteries. Thankfully, the driver wasn't seriously injured. A man and woman seen leaving the scene were accused of stealing at least 2 other cars earlier that night. The woman has been charged with unlawful use of a motor vehicle, robbery and assault with intent to steal. Police are still searching for her accomplice.
After days spent attacking the Prime Minister over Qantas flight upgrades, opposition leader Peter Dutton has revealed Australia's richest person, Gina Rinehart, put on a special flight for him. The request from Mr Dutton's office has government ministers accusing him of hypocrisy.
Flying high on whose dime? The opposition still in furious pursuit of Anthony Albanese for supposedly soliciting flight upgrades from former Qantas boss Alan Joyce.
What's at stake here is the Prime Minister's integrity, and he has been dishonest.
But Peter Dutton's cosy relationship with Australia's richest person is now in the political crosshairs.
They've held themselves up to be saintly, and they're not.
Now tonight we can hear the Honourable Peter Dutton.
The opposition leader revealing his office had asked Gina Rinehart to put on a plane for him so he could attend a Bali memorial service in Sydney, but only after being denied an Air Force jet and pricing a private charter at $40,000.
The cheaper option for the taxpayer was for my office to speak to Mrs Rinehart's office as to whether the plane might be available. That was at zero cost to the taxpayer.
Taxpayers didn't pay for the PM's Qantas flight upgrades either, but it's the access and influence they might have bought that's in question. Especially when Qatar Airways wants to compete in the domestic market.
Why he went against the department's advice, why he went against the inclination of the current Transport Minister in relation to allowing Qatar in.
Mr Albanese says he didn't call, text or email Alan Joyce to ask for upgrades, all of which have been declared. National Senator Bridget McKenzie, who's been leading the coalition attack on the PM, now checking her own flight freebies.
If there are inconsistencies with my public declarations, I will absolutely make those changes.
Andrew Probyn, 9 News.
It's the spookiest night of the year, and crowds of trick-or-treaters are starting to flock to scary streets and haunted homes across the city. Michelle Tapper is in Red Hill. Michelle, the kids are in for a fright tonight.
Happy Halloween, Melissa. Look what you're missing out on. I'm at one of the scariest houses in Red Hill, and this is the Haunted Dungeon. And I'm telling you, it is next level. And for the last 90 minutes, this amazing attraction has been terrifying hundreds of kids. It's been non-stop screaming, and the line now is about an hour long. But fortunately, I had a look inside a little earlier, and I can tell you, it is truly terrifying. Take a look. Come on, let's do this. Gosh, I wasn't expecting that so quickly.
Into the nuclear zone.
This is the danger zone?
This is nuclear, man.
They're not joking about confined spaces. It's pretty tight in here. What is this section? Between the ghosts and the ghouls, the music and the special effects, it really was a scary experience. And these kids have just survived what is, I'm imagining, one of the scariest experiences of your life. How was it?
Good. Scary.
It was really scary. On a scale of 1 to 10?
9. 9.
And what was the best bit?
Looking for the spiders and the jump scares and the water going at you.
I know, there was a lot of things jumping out at you. It was amazing. And has everybody got a lot of lollies?
Yeah.
Yes. Excellent. And the Haunted Mansion here in Red Hill is still open until 7:30. It's been running for 11 years, and all the money raised goes to the swim squad at the Ithaca Creek State School, which is right across the road. So it's a great community event, and I'm going to hit the street, get myself some free chocolate, and happy Halloween, everyone. Have a great night.
Michelle Tapper and the kids, will they sleep tonight, I wonder? Making quite the statement why this Queenslander is bearing all outside his bank.
The southeast swimming spots with questionable water quality.
The biggest typhoon in decades, 200-kilometre-an-hour winds smash through Taiwan.
And at the end of sport, $200 million in unclaimed cash. Check what you're owed.
Popular swimming spots on the Gold Coast are under the microscope tonight after failing a water quality test. Both animal and human contamination was found in waterways including Palm Beach Parklands, Coolangatta Creek, Burleigh Heads and Broadwater Parklands. Burleigh Headland, the worst water quality, nearly 100 times over the safe threshold, according to the Surfrider Foundation. Gold Coast City Council says it conducts regular tests that have not raised any concerns.
A trouserless protester has taken to a street corner in Ashgrove, speaking out against ANZ in front of one of its suburban branches. The almost nude stunt catching shoppers by surprise.
A man taking a stand against a big bank in his birthday suit. Forget a paper petition, Paul Herman's bearing it all, well, almost all of it, outside a suburban ANZ branch, battling 30-degree heat to turn up the heat on the bank.
It's really an act of desperation because the ANZ Bank are going to take my house.
This is the latest and cheekiest chapter in Paul's decade-long legal stoush with the banking giant. He claims it incorrectly increased his income details on a loan application.
They inflated my income without my knowledge.
And alleges that led to financial woes. For nearby businesses, the exposure wasn't indecent, just a bit of a surprise.
I think it's a time and place, and this isn't it.
Do you think it's putting off customers?
Oh, he had the right to say what he thinks.
Is this the right way to go about it?
Probably not, but at least he's making a stance, I guess.
ANZ says a third-party umpire, the Australian Financial Complaints Authority, considered Paul's claims around 4 of his ANZ loans were unsubstantiated. A 5th loan is currently being assessed.
This certainly is his most stripped back strike, but this isn't Paul's first protest. He tells us he did a 3-day hunger strike outside an ANZ branch last year.
And surprisingly, kidding off on a street corner didn't attract the attention of police, meaning we could see Paul stick it to the bank starkers again. Lily Greer, 9 News.
Taiwan is being smashed by one of its strongest storms in 30 years. Typhoon Kongray has just made landfall on the island, bringing sustained wind speeds exceeding 200 kilometres an hour, the equivalent of a Category 3 hurricane.
Queenslanders lowering their bills, taking a gamble on their home and car insurance. Tonight, the growing trend of altering your policy to reduce costs. But what are the hidden risks? That story is ahead. Baptism by fire. The new Woolworths CEO under pressure from staff and shareholders during a fiery AGM.
The shock amount young Queenslanders need from mum and dad to afford a home.
And the major changes coming to southeast flight paths. What it means for your suburb. Woolworths came under fire today at its annual shareholder meeting after a year of scandals. Fending off criticism from struggling customers, the supermarket is also in the sights of staff battling to make ends meet.
Woolworths turns 100 this year, but instead of celebrating, it's in damage control.
Woolworths Group is not perfect.
But it's not dodgy either, according to the chairman, who today called out the ACCC for dragging it to court.
While we disagree with their assessment that the price dropped program was misleading, we are committed to working constructively with them.
The annual meeting was a baptism of fire for new CEO Amanda Bardwell, and while investors peppered questions, it was 64-year-old staff member Jo Wright who stole the show.
It's actually becoming unaffordable for me to work at Woolworths. My $26.04 an hour is just not cutting it, I'm afraid.
Here's the thing. If they're price gouging, they're doing a very, very bad job of it because profits are going backwards. The share price has gone almost nowhere in a decade.
If shareholders are unhappy, shoppers are more unhappy. Woolworths and Coles are the corporate faces of inflation because they sell the stuff we need. And over the last 3 years, CPI data shows the price of essentials like bread, milk, eggs, cooking oils and chicken have soared, while real disposable incomes have fallen. The supermarkets say it's not their fault, but the damage has been done anyway. Last year, Woolies was Australia's most trusted brand. Now it's number 227. Chris Kohler, 9 News.
New research has revealed a growing gap between income and house prices in Brisbane. As Claire Todd-Hunter explains, a $400,000 handout from the Bank of Mum and Dad is now the only option for many trying to enter the first home buyer market.
New data from CoreLogic and CanStar shows the median value of a Brisbane home is edging closer and closer to $1 million, sitting at $966,000 for a house or $653,000 for a unit, all but locking out single average income earners from buying their first home without a major top-up from outside help. Using average earnings of just over $100,000, according to the Bureau of Statistics, CanStar's estimated borrowing capacity compared to CoreLogic data for median home values shows even after saving for a deposit and taking out a loan, there's a shortfall of more than $440,000 for single average income earners. They need to get that money from the bank of mum and dad if they're wanting to buy a house, even still needing a handout of $130,000 to go for a unit. Things not much better either for those shacked up. The shortfall for a house coming in at $233,000 for a dual average income couple. Some of the last remaining affordable suburbs across Greater Brisbane are Springfield, Woodridge, Redbank and Goodna. Industry experts warning they won't stay in reach for much longer.
A win for Brisbane residents affected by airport noise. Flight paths are being changed next month to direct more planes over the water for longer, reducing noise levels for communities. Planes will also be required to fly higher before crossing the coastline. The changes will begin on November 28th, increasing the number of flights using these alternate routes from 2 to 5%. Critics, though, say the changes still do not go far enough.
Salt shock, the Australian food with double the recommended amount, putting us at risk of heart attacks, strokes and kidney disease.
The last bus out of Brisbane stuck on Struggle Street, the bumpy beginning to Cold Chisel's tour.
You could halve your premiums, but it's risky. I'll break down the insurance gamble families are taking with everything you need to know.
And furniture from just $1, the mega auction you don't want to miss. A spooky financial trend has emerged this Halloween. A specific type of zombie is prowling the share market. Chris Kohler explains.
In the spirit of Halloween, let's talk about zombies. Zombie companies, that is. That's the name given by KPMG to listed businesses that have been in financial distress for 3 quarters in a row but haven't fallen into insolvency. So not quite dead, not quite alive. And the number of zombie companies on the ASX has gone up 31% in the last 6 months. So there you go. If you need a last-minute costume, you could go as a small mining company. That sector has seen the most zombies, according to the research. As for the market today, a minor fall. Woolworths, Wesfarmers and JB Hi-Fi held their shareholder meetings, and the reaction from investors was mixed. And the Australian dollar remains near its lowest level since August, one Aussie buying 65 US cents.
Checking the fuel prices, the average for unleaded in Brisbane is $1.98 and diesel $1.81. The average on the Gold Coast for unleaded $1.82. RACQ says prices are high, so delay filling the tank if you can.
Cold Chisel's huge return to Brisbane got off to a rocky start last night. The band's touring buses finding themselves in a tight spot in Norman Park after misjudgment left them wedged in a suburban street. After being stuck for some time, they eventually jimmied their way out, allegedly damaging several cars in the process. Cold Chisel play 2 more shows in the southeast before heading to Newcastle on Monday.
Can you pass the salt? It's a request heard at most dinner tables every night, but many of us are unknowingly having way too much of it. Australia has fallen behind a lot of countries that have mandated salt levels in processed foods. Now there's a push to do the same here.
There's no denying we have an insatiable appetite for salt, and it's being fed by a food industry hungry for our money.
Right now, all Australians pretty much eat too much of it.
On average, Australian adults consume around 10 grams or 5 teaspoons of salt every day, double the recommended daily intake, most of that coming from processed foods.
Things like bread, processed meats, condiments and dips like soy sauce, for example, and also we get some from things like breakfast cereal.
The George Institute for Global Health wants the government to mandate lower levels of sodium in packaged goods in line with the World Health Organisation recommendations, making it compulsory for manufacturers to reduce salt levels. Currently, our guidelines are voluntary and many companies don't abide by them.
We do know that salt increases our blood pressure and that increases our risk
risk of a heart event.
New research published in The Lancet today shows reducing salt in processed foods could prevent up to 40,000 cardiovascular events like heart attacks and strokes over the next decade, saving 3,000 lives and cutting $3.25 billion in healthcare costs.
Any reduction in salt is a good thing, but where you'll feel it the most is by cutting processed foods. While 30% of our intake comes from adding salt to our meals, a whopping 60 to 70% comes from packaged goods.
Experts suggest switching out regular table salt with potassium-enriched salt is a good start. Sophie Walsh, 9 News.
$500,000 worth of brand new furniture is right now up for grabs, and it could be yours for as little as $1. Lloyd's Auctions hosting a flash 9-hour online bidding war with mattresses, bedding and furnishings on offer.
Everything started at $1. Everything's on the market. There's no reserves, so top bidders will take it home. All you got to do is bid.
You better get in quick, though. The mega online sale closes at 7 p.m. tonight.
Big Broncos bucks, a mega payday for Reece Walsh, the teenage golfer who's upstaged Cameron Smith at the Queensland PGA Championship.
At the end of sport, how to get your share of $200 million of unclaimed cash.
And an extensive line of severe thunderstorms on Brisbane's north side. It extends from Woodford through the Sunshine Coast up to Gympie and even the Wide Bay Burnett area. We'll have the latest with your full radar and your forecast shortly.
Good evening. Reece Walsh wants to grow as a player and a person after signing the richest contract in Broncos history. The superstar fullback penning a 4-year, $5 million extension to stay at Red Hill for the rest of the decade.
Being here now, I'm still a little bit nervous. I feel like I'm getting jitters, so definitely happy to be here and look around. So it's a good day.
Good day might be the understatement of all time. Averaged out, Reece Lightning will pocket around $24,000 every week when he returns to training next month. Josh Adokar has no more paychecks coming from the Bulldogs. The winger has just been sacked. The 29-year-old fronted the board at Belmore late this afternoon following his positive roadside test to cocaine. The Foxes' contract ripped up. Nathan McSweeney is making the most of his first audition to fill Australia's vacant Test opener position, with his 3 rivals failing to fire in Australia A's clash against India A. 14 wickets falling on a dramatic first day in Mackay, with the Queensland paceman terrorising the tourists.
The first true test of the opening batsman battle ready to launch, although the contenders failing to take off.
Constas is gone. Third ball duck for the youngster.
The 19-year-old quickly joined by an experienced campaigner.
Given. And Bancroft is furious.
Sam Constas and Cam Bancroft gone for ducks, while Marcus Harris only made 17.
It's a poor shot from Harris,
who only hours earlier was backed alongside Bancroft as the frontrunners for the vacant Test opening position.
There's a lot of context and consideration around body of work for those senior players in Marcus Harris and Cameron Bancroft, and clearly Sam Constas hasn't had that ability to have that body of work behind him because of the limited Shield cricket that he's played, and then Nathan McSweeney somewhere in the middle of that.
The Queenslander, the final contender, making a fist of things in Mackay, batting fourth, the Australian A captain digging deep, surviving 110 balls to finish the day unbeaten on 29, keeping his side in the fight and his Test dream alive.
We're genuine in the fact that we haven't made a decision, and we don't tend to make decisions until we have to, and that will be at the end of the second Australia A game.
The opener off to a flyer.
First ball wicket for Jordan Buckingham.
Queensland paceman Brendan Doggett dominating, taking 6 for 15 to skittle India A for 107.
There you go. Doggett has 6.
The heat stream start and the WBBL continues their 28-run demolition of the Renegades, the first time Brisbane has started a women's season with back-to-back wins. Matthew Simbacus, 9 News.
The Reds' junkyard dog Tim Ryan has some treasure in his keeping tonight, named Rookie of the Year and winning Try of the Year at Rugby Australia's awards night. The 21-year-old revealed the standout season also cost him. Now he's on Quick Dial with Joe Schmidt.
I'm pretty sure I made a bet with one of my mates saying, I'll just be in brothers this year. And he's like, he had more confidence than me. So yeah, then going from that and then having conversations with the Wallabies coaches, it's pretty crazy. A little bit of a blur, to be honest.
Back rower Rob Ballatini becomes just the third Wallaby to win consecutive John Eales medals. Cameron Smith has issued an early statement at the Queensland PGA Championship, firing a 5-under par opening round. But he's been upstaged by a 19-year-old amateur who holds a share of the lead.
After waking up at 4 a.m. for an early morning tea time, Cam Smith stuck around signing caps, golf balls and even a broken arm cast. Smith suffered a bad break of his own on the opening hole with his first shot finding the water, but the tournament draw card soon lived up to his billing by reeling off 6 birdies. The hometown gallery entertained with a 5-under par round, an early statement proving he means business at the Queensland PGA Championship.
Really felt comfortable with the driver and really just kind of let it go, and yeah, it was all good stuff.
Still the major winner, upstaged by a kid from the Gold Coast, a bogey-free 66 from teenage amateur Billy Dowling, propelling him into the lead 1 stroke better than his golfing idol.
It makes me feel pretty good. I mean, after going on his scholarship 2 years ago and then seeing my name there with him makes me feel pretty good, and, you know, I guess confirms why I was there in the first place.
Yeah, he's a good kid. I love Billy. He was one of the shyest kids ever, I think, on one of those trips, and no, it's good to see him playing really good golf.
Defending champion Phoenix Campbell shares the lead with Dowling, but there's still 3 more days to go to try and stay ahead of the most credentialed Queenslander. Adam Jackson, 9 News.
The LA Dodgers have won baseball's World Series, but only after going down 5-0 to the Yankees in New York. The Dodgers worked their way back, scoring 5 of their own in the 5th inning before holding on to win 7-6, clinching the series 4-1. As a Yankees supporter, that was a little tough to read. As always, next year.
Always next year.
Thanks, Donna. It's not a common occurrence, a missed refund from Medicare, but it might mean that you're owed hundreds or thousands of dollars. There's a simple reason behind it, as federal politics reporter Claudia Vodoljak explains.
It's usually the government chasing Australians for money, but tonight they're chasing thousands of people yet to collect cash they're entitled to. More than $240 million in unclaimed Medicare rebates is yet to be handed out to almost 1 million Australians. These are people who have had a trip to the doctor but are waiting on a refund because their bank details aren't up to date. The average amount owed is about $260, with some owed in excess of $10,000. Young people are missing out the most.
Everywhere in Australia, there's 930,000 people who are owed money, and literally it's not that hard to get.
It's quick to claim. Once your details are updated on the MyGov app or online, the payment will be made in 3 working days. There is a reminder, though, to watch out for scams. Services Australia will not send links via text or email.
In just 3 minutes, Queenslanders underinsuring and increasing their excesses. The growing trend altering car and home insurance policies to reduce bills. But there is a hidden risk. That warning is moments away. First, though, Garry Youngberry is back with a check on the weather. Gaz, has Brisbane escaped those storms?
Oh, the city has been spared for now, Melissa. There are still severe storms occurring to the north of Brizzy. Second round of storms currently hitting the Gold Coast. We're likely to see some showers as they sort of break down over the next few hours. But tomorrow, a different story. It'll be round 2 and likely to be more damaging than today's storms. Your full forecast up next.
Insurance costs remain one of the biggest drivers of inflation, leaving many Australians looking for ways to ease the pain of premiums. Quick fixes are delivering big savings, but as Nine's money editor Effie Zahos explains, it is important to understand the risks.
In a world of bills and juggling expenses, more Australians are choosing to gamble on their insurance.
I have increased my excess on my car insurance and then also on the home insurance because that's just skyrocketed.
At the end of the day, I know there's going to be more money in my pocket.
Calls to the National Debt Helpline have soared to an average of $14,000 per month. And financial counsellors say car insurance has become a real concern.
What we think is happening, or what we see is happening, is that people are maybe changing from comprehensive car insurance to third-party fire and theft, and some not even taking out insurance.
Homeowners are also adjusting their home and contents insurance.
People are doing 2 things to manage their costs.
One is underinsuring deliberately, and secondly is increasing their excesses.
Some insurers now offer excesses as high as $10,000. Depending on your situation, it could halve your annual premium. But at what cost?
It does mean they're now carrying more risk, and insurance is meant to take away that risk from you.
For those underinsured or with no insurance, the risk is greater.
Not only would you suffer the trauma of a disaster, you would have no insurance to help you recover, and all the equity and savings you built up in your property is gone.
So what are your options? Understand the trade-off between a higher excess and a lower premium. If you can't pay your excess, insurers can't reject your claim. Under hardship, your insurer may allow you to pay the excess in instalments or deduct the excess from the claim amount. Look for an insurer that doesn't charge extra for monthly premium payments. And don't always assume that bundling gives you the better deal. And never just automatically renew your policies.
Touch wood that I don't have an accident.
Effie Zahos, 9 News.
Well, time now for your full weather forecast. Garry, what's the latest on those storm warnings?
Well, the most intense and severe storm cell is to the north of Brisbane. It's around the Sunshine Coast. Noosa and Gympie in the firing line. Possible large hail, destructive winds, very heavy rainfall. But there is still plenty of storm cells across the southeast. We have quite a light show to the north of Brisbane here from Kangaroo Point. But a closer look at that lightning. Take a look at these pictures taken about 2 hours ago at Wamuran, just northwest of the Caboolture. This is where the extensive, severe line of storms started and extended all the way through the Sunshine Coast, right up through now to the Wide Bay and Burnett region, which is still under threat for the next few hours. Onto the radar, and you should first see a severe storm cell form on the Sunshine Coast. That brought hail around Maleny and Nambour, then the storms on the Goldie, hail just south of the border, but then extensive storm cells to the northwest of Brisbane, but the city spared this evening. Temperatures were hot today. Let's have a look across southeast Queensland, and well above average for this last day of October. High 20s for the coast and Bayside. We had mid-30s inland, 35 for Oakey and Gatton, 34 in Ipswich, 32 Toowoomba, 31 in Caboolture, 29 here in the city. The weather map: shower storms and heat will persist in the northern tropics and inland of WA. A large high will sort of produce showers in South Australia, Tassie and Victoria. Showers and storms for eastern New South Wales, and severe storms likely in southeast Queensland tomorrow. For the capitals, sunny and warm in Perth and Adelaide, cloudy and cooler for Melbourne. Early showers in Hobart, a shower or two Sydney and Darwin. Heat building for Alice Springs the next few days. Queensland, sunny and low 30s. The North Coast, Tablelands, Lower Burdekin, Central Coast and the Whitsundays. A hot day in the Capricornia with afternoon showers and storms. Hot and humid in the Wide Bay and Burnett with showers and storms likely. Hot and dry in the outback, 40 on the way for Longreach. Southeast Queensland, partly cloudy, moderate west to northwesterlies ahead of a southeasterly change. Severe thunderstorms are likely tomorrow, and they will be widespread. Temperatures reaching the low 30s. Moreton Bay, northwest, 10 to 20 knots ahead of a southeasterly change. Brisbane, strengthening northwesterlies ahead of that change, and that's where we'll see storms, a top of 30 degrees. Your outlook: Saturday, the chance of showers and storms. Sunday, the pick of the weekend, 28. A hot one Monday and Tuesday. Ipswich, still the chance of showers and storms on Saturday. A beautiful Sunday, and hot for Monday, Tuesday, 35 degrees. For the Goldie, Saturday 26, not bad. Sunday, the pick, 27 and partly cloudy. Hot for Monday and Tuesday with 30. Sunshine Coast, 26 Saturday, chance of showers and storms. Sunday, partly cloudy, and some hot weather into next week. But be warned, tomorrow, some severe storms heading our way, guys.
We'll take your advice, Garry. Thank you. Before we go, here's a look at a story you won't want to miss tomorrow night.
Watch blockbuster movies, read the latest bestsellers, and grab your favourite magazines, all without paying a cent.
I think a lot of people are surprised what you can actually get.
The new budget-busting home entertainment scheme for families and seniors.
Membership is free.
9 News tomorrow.
That's 9 News Queensland for this evening. Ali Langdon is next with a current affair.
Thank you for your company from all of us. Good night.
Good night.